Yo, we're back, and we're going to be doing another UFC Fight Night breakdown and predictions video here. This fight week, it's going to be Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev. Really good fight. You know, we got the former UFC champion, one of the best lightweights in MMA history, in Rafael Dos Anjos. And he's obviously getting up there in age, but he's on a 2-fight win streak since coming back down to 155, and he's going to be taking on a young guy that's definitely going to be trying to make a name off of him here in Rafael Fiziev. So it's a really good fight in the main event, and there's some other pretty good fights mixed in. So I'm excited to break this fight card down and give you guys some bets at the end. So definitely, stick around, watch the breakdowns. But right before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is CashflowMMA.com. They've been doing an awesome job so far this year of cashing for all their clients and giving really good sound advice. So right now is a really good time to jump on there as well, because if you use the promo code MMAGuru until August 1st, you will receive a free trial. You could kind of test out, see what type of bets they do, and see if you like the way they go about it. But I definitely recommend them. Definitely have been killing it this year. I've been really putting a lot of units on the board. So CashflowMMA.com, they're one of the best options if you want to check out someone to bet MMA with. And now we're going to be getting into this first fight of the night here. Ronny Lawrence for Saeed Yakub Kakhramonov. But just right before we get started, just want to give you guys a big shout for supporting the channel. Just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Check out some of the videos that I've been putting on the channel, and also make sure to put a comment down below. Tell me what you think about my predictions, who you're going to be betting on this week. Do you agree with some of the plays that I'm going to be doing, or some of the picks that I have? And we'll definitely want to get some conversation going down there in the comments. But yeah, thanks everyone so much for supporting the channel. If you want to go over there on Patreon and get some of my bets for this week, some of my bets for other organizations, some breakdowns, definitely recommend you do that over there at patreon.com/MMAPredictionGuru. But this first fight of the night here, we got Ronny Lawrence taking on Saeed Yakub Kakhramonov. And this is a really good fight. I mean, this is a guy that, this is a fight between two guys that I think could definitely make waves in this division. At 135, man, it's just a shark tank. So these guys aren't even probably close to the top 15, but I think they could definitely give problems to fighters in the top 15, and could give problems to, a lot of different guys in the weight class. But, Ronny Lawrence, he's won 5 fights in a row, 2-0 in the UFC so far, also won in the Contender Series. And he's pretty dominant in his fights. He did get hurt late against Mana Martinez, but outside of that, he really has not had a lot of adversity. And with Kakhramonov, he's a young guy. He's very hungry. Been calling out some high-level opponents. Feels he's ready for top 15 fighters right now. And he had a really impressive victory in his debut, beating Trevin Jones on short notice. So that was a really good introduction for him into the UFC. And one of these guys is going to have to take their first loss in the company. But Saeed Yakub Kakhramonov, he's a high-level wrestler. He has pretty good striking skills as well. He's very fast. He's athletic. Kind of wild. He's not super technical, but he's willing to go for it. Good aggression. Pushes the pace, and he throws heat as well. So fighters are a bit hesitant to throw a combination because, or throw with him, because he has a really good combination of speed and power. He does like to explode in with 3-2s, 1-2s. He has a nice left hook. He does a good job sneaking it in there well on the counter. I've seen him be in there with some high-level competition and do well. He was able to drop Nurmagomedov in the 3rd round with a big cross. He does wing some of his punches, sometimes gets sloppy, but if he connects, he can knock you out, and he's pretty fast, so he's hard to counter in time. He doesn't really set up his kicks the best, but he will throw some pretty good kicks, throw to all parts of the body. He'll throw some spinning kicks. He likes to throw flying techniques, so he can get pretty creative in there. And he has 3 knockout finishes. He has been finished once via flying knee. It was a pretty brutal knockout loss for him, but he is tough, durable. He's going to keep coming unless you put him out cold. And the wrestling and grappling is where he shines, and I think that's where this fight is going to be won by either guy. Saeed Yakub is a very good wrestler, really good grappling skills. He likes to explode in with his punch combos, level change, hit that single, hit that double, fast level changes, good strength, good technique. He's good at grinding against the cage, and he has good chain wrestling. He can get fighters to the ground eventually if you can't get him down initially. And his cardio is really good, so he can wrestle for 3 rounds. He can hit mat returns for 15 minutes if he needs to. And he brings that same aggressive kinetic style he has on the feet, on the ground. You know, he throws good ground and pounds, constantly looking to improve position and get the finish. And he likes to take the back hit rear naked chokes. He has 2 of those in his career. He also has good front chokes. He has a Darce. He has a guillotine on his record. His last fight, he hit that real nice guillotine on Trevin Jones. And his takedown defense is high level. I mean, I know some people are ragging on his takedown defense because Trevin Jones was able to get him down a couple times, hold him against the fence. But he took that fight on very short notice. He was able to eventually get the better of the grappling. He was actually having to travel 18 hours, I think, on like a week's notice and take the fight. So you got to cut him a little bit of slack there. And I have seen him in there with Umar Nurmagomedov, where he defended all of Nurmagomedov's takedowns, only ended up on bottom when he went for a throw, failed, and pulled Nurmagomedov on top of him. And he has done that in a few fights that I've seen of his. So he needs to get a little bit better with his fight IQ in that aspect. But even when he goes to his back, he shows great scrambling ability. He likes to attack the legs. He's very hard to hold down. And his cardio is really good. Sometimes he can push the pace that he can't keep up with, like we saw in the PP Vargas fight. But, you know, that's what ultimately kind of led to Vargas being able to time the flying knee and knock him out. I just think that was a little bit of him being young and kind of not really experienced. And he still is 26, so he's going to continue to improve, sharpen his skill set. But I think he's going to have a better idea of how he's going to want to pace himself in his fight IQ and fights going forward. And I definitely think he has the tools to be someone to look out for in the future. His last fight, like I said, he had some tough moments. He was taken down, but Trevin Jones is super strong as well. He's underrated. He's a black belt. And, you know, he took the fight on 10 days notice, so I definitely think his wrestling is going to be sharper here. I think he's going to be in better shape for this fight. He did have a fight that got pulled from him due to COVID. So he had a little bit of a time off here. He hasn't fought in like 10 months, but he said he's been training for that whole time. He's been ready to fight since February, and I think he's going to look improved here. But Ronny Lawrence is a tough opponent. You know, he's looked great in his 2 UFC fights. He's been able to use his wrestling, his pressure. He is a fun point fighter. You know, he likes to move around. He has good footwork, quickness. He throws a lot of kicks, and then he tries to wait for the opportunity to get the takedown. I think in this fight, though, he should try to keep it more stand-up, if you ask me. I've seen a lot of people that believe that he's going to be able to get takedowns, things like that, but I think that on the feet, Lawrence attacks all parts of the body effectively. He has some really nice leg kicks. He has good round kicks to the body, to the head, spin kicks. He has good flying knees, and he can be a dynamic striker. You know, he shut off more of his hands in his last fight. He was throwing some pretty good overhands crosses. He was able to explode in and knock down Martinez a couple times with the hands, showing some power. So I feel like Lawrence, he has good wrestling. His timing is good. He shoots fast doubles. And once he gets on top, he has pretty good ground and pound, but he isn't really the most dangerous or active on the ground, and he has no submissions. It seems like his jiu-jitsu is a little bit questionable. I mean, if you go back and watch his fight with Jose Johnson, you know, he was reversed and looked a little bit hesitant inside of Johnson's full guard. And he also got swept and wasn't able to hold down some of his opponents in the UFC for certain portions of the fight. So I think that Kakhramonov is clearly the best grappler that Lawrence has faced in his career, and he's going to give him a lot more issues in that realm. But cardio is one of the things that Lawrence weaponizes, and he gets fighters down the later the fight goes and starts to kind of break them, and that's where he can start to be a lot more effective with his ground and pound, his top control, and get the finishes via TKO. But actually in this fight, I'm going to go with Saidjakob Kakhramonov. I think he's going to wrestle here. He's going to control on top, grind out the victory. And on the feet, I think he's going to be the guy going forward, trying to cut the cage off and land big punches. And Lawrence is going to be looking to stick and move, land some counters, maybe mix in some late takedowns in the rounds or some cage grinding to steal them. And I've never really seen Lawrence face someone who can wrestle offensively, so I can't talk about his takedown defense. And I think that obviously he's going to need it here against Kakhramonov, but I think Lawrence will not be able to have a lot of top control time in this fight, and Kakhramonov is going to get the better of the grappling. I think even if he gets taken down, he'll be able to create scrambles. And both these fighters, I think, are very good. They have strengths. They can pose issues for really good fighters, but I think Kakhramonov's being overlooked here, because of his performance in his UFC debut where Trevin Jones had some grappling success. I think, he's going to look a lot better in this one. I think the speed on the feet and the power is on I don't know if I think he's can match the speed of Lawrence. Lawrence is very fast as well, but I think that Saeed is a little more aggressive, throws a little bit more heat, and I think he's going to be a little bit more confident on the feet. And I also feel like, Lawrence, I think if he can't really control on the ground and is getting pushed back and really kind of starts to break a little bit because he can't get the takedown or he can't control on top and his shots aren't backing up Kakhramonov, I think he could get rocked. And that's why I am going to pick Saeed by third round TKO in this one. So I'm going to say Kakhramonov goes in there and has a really good performance, maybe surprises quite a few people and gets the job done. So give me Kakhramonov to win this fight. And in this next one, we got a light heavyweight fight. We got Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Roberson. And this is a difficult fight to predict. It's two untrustworthy fighters. Both guys are on losing streaks. They have losing records in the UFC. Roberson, he got beat down in his last fight. He got brutally finished by Khalil Rountree. And he has lost 3 fights in a row. Definitely, I think this is his last chance to stay in the company. And Kennedy Nzechukwu is a guy who has potential. He has really good natural gifts, obviously, but just hasn't been able to put it together in the UFC. He's still learning on the job. And his last fight, he lost a split decision to Nick Negumereanu. And in his last 2 fights, actually, he has 2 losses in a row. He got knocked out by Dong Jung as well. So both these guys, they've taken damage recently is on top of not really having consistent performances. Roberson, he's lost 3 fights in a row. Kennedy is going to have the advantage. He is the significantly bigger guy, so he has a 10-inch reach advantage or a 9-inch reach advantage, so that's pretty big, and he is a guy that is not going to be able to be a tweener between 185 and 205 like Carl is. He's a true 205er, so I think Nzechukwu should get the job done. Roberson's a good boxer, but he likes to throw hooks, a lot of looping strikes, whereas Kennedy, he throws more straight punches. He likes the pot shot. And his footwork did look improved in his last fight. He was doing a better job moving, not just sticking in one spot and just shelling up. And I think that his cardio is good for being a big guy. He doesn't really slow down. On the feet, I think he'll be able to do a little bit more land cleaner. Roberson, I see trying to cut the cage off and use those low kicks to set up the hooks. But Kennedy, if he can move, uses reach, pot shot, how he did in his last fight, I think he should win. Roberson is a superior grappler, but I don't think he has the greatest wrestling or even the greatest ability to close distance and clinch. And Kennedy, unless he beats himself with point deductions, which he's done in the past, in this fight, I think he should be able to just use that superior footwork, the straight shots, the reach, and get the win by decision. So Roberson, I think his best chance to get the finish is if he can get on top of Kennedy, but easier said than done, especially with the 205-pound weight class this time. So I'm going to predict Kennedy to win this fight via decision. And this next fight here is a late addition to the card. David Onama, he was expecting to fight Austin Lingo, and then I believe they told him he was off the card, but they found an opponent very late here with Garrett Armfield, and this is a rematch here. They actually fought in their amateur careers. David Onama won by decision in 2018, and it was both Armfield and Onama's last amateur fights before they went pro. Onama, he obviously started to make a name for himself as a pro now. He's gotten that big knockout win in his last UFC fight. He had a really fun fight in his UFC debut with Mason Jones. And Onama, he had to jump up a weight class and come in on short notice to get in the UFC, and that's exactly what Garrett Armfield is going to have to do here. Armfield, he is replacing Lingo, and he's moving up to 145 pounds. He normally fights at bantamweight. He is coming off winning the FAC bantamweight title in May, so he has some momentum, and overall he's 8-2, so he has a good record. This is going to be his first fight at 145 pounds as a pro, and even as an amateur, Armfield only fought twice at 145. He only fought Onama at 145 because he was trying to become a two-division amateur champion, so I think that Armfield is eventually going to go back to 135 after this fight, but it should be a fun fight. As pros, Onama and Armfield have finished all of their victories. So their finishers, if you watch the first fight, it was competitive actually, but the size difference was evident. Garrett Armfield was skilled and he probably was better overall at that time, but he was weary of the power. He wasn't really super willing to engage, and he had good footwork and movement. He had pretty good speed as well. He had good leg kicks in the pocket. He was doing a good job slipping and ripping with his hands. So he was pretty effective. He was the faster fighter, and he was getting the better of some of the exchanges. But Onama was landing the bigger shots clearly. When he was landing, he was kind of pushing back Arnfield, and you could tell when he landed, Arnfield wasn't as willing to kind of return. Later in the fight, Arnfield started to take more risks, and it became actually a fun fight. But Onama was getting the better of it when they started to kind of get in more extended exchanges. It's just Onama had a pretty big power advantage. And we've seen how Onama fights. You know, the guy's very skilled on the feet. He's very clean, and he's improved his grappling as well. He has big power. We've seen him up at 155 rocking guys like Mason Jones on multiple occasions. But, you know, Arnfield's willing to brawl too, man. He showed a great chin. He took some of the big shots from Onama. And at 135, you see him much more aggressive than I saw him in that fight at 145. I see him, you know, backing guys up to the cage and going body head. He has a lot of power in that left hook. And he has some really fast knockouts. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to come in here and want to make it a brawl, or if he's going to have that same kind of mentality they had in their first fight and make it more of a technical fight. So if he makes it more of a brawl, I think it could, you know, end up being a really fun, exciting fight, because Arnfield is pretty skilled. He trains at Sanford MMA. I know it says Killcliff FC. I guess that's what they're going with now. They changed their name to Killcliff FC. So it is Sanford MMA there. And if you look at it, you know, Arnfield, I've seen him grapple in certain fights, but it seems like he only wrestles when fighters try to take him down, and he can kind of, you know, wrestle well defensively and end up getting on top. But, you know, you see his 2 pro losses. He got submitted in one of those fights by Mateo Vogel, and then he lost to Ronny Lawrence, who we obviously just talked about being a pretty good wrestler. And Onama, I don't necessarily think is going to take him down. So I think this is going to be more of a stand-up fight. And I just don't know how Arnfield's going to play it. I think if he goes in there and really tries to go for it, you know, gets amped up, and, you know, it's his first UFC fight. He's trying to win this rematch. You know, I could see him getting knocked out, but he's never been finished from what I've seen, amateur or pro. He is durable, and he's pretty skilled. And I think that he's going to kind of come out early, real aggressive, and I think Onama's going to check him with that power, kind of remind him a little bit. I think they're going to settle into that kind of old fight that they had previously, and I think that Onama's just going to be able to get the better of it. I know both these guys have finished all of their victories, but watch their first fight, and neither guy was really even close to getting finished. I know it was only 3-minute rounds, so that could kind of change that dynamic a little bit, but I think that Arnfield has improved quite a bit, and Onama has as well, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think the line is way off, but I have to go with Onama. You know, he already won the first fight. He's the bigger guy. He's coming in here with the training camp. He's already had UFC experience, so he has a lot of advantages on his side, but I don't really feel like that minus 700 number is warranted. He has a lot of hype right now, but, you know, the first fight was fairly competitive, and it wasn't that long ago, you know, around 4 years ago, so I would probably line it closer, but I am going to go with Onama, and I'm going to actually say it's a decision once again. You know, in the first fight, like I said, there was not really either guy getting close to a finish, so I don't necessarily see a finish happening here unless Arnfield kind of changes up the game plan. So give me Onama by decision. And this next fight's going to be at middleweight. Treyshawn Gore taking on Cody Brundage. And 2 inexperienced guys. Treyshawn Gore is the bigger name. He's coming off the Ultimate Fighter. He made it to the finale. He had 2 dominant wins on the show, and he was actually the favorite to beat Brian Battle, but got outworked, lost a decision, and now he's 3-1. So his record looks a little bit weak. You know, I definitely think that a win is paramount here to guarantee his job in the company going forward. Cody Brundage, 7-2. He's coming off his first UFC win, and he kind of had a win where he was losing the whole time and then won the fight via guillotine against Dauchalungi and Bula. Got that late in the first round, and now he's 1-1 in the UFC. He had coming on short notice. He lost to Nick Maximoff, and looking to build some momentum now. Both fighters should have gotten good camps. You know, Cody Brundage, he trains at Factory X. He's with Mark Montoya and some beast over there. And Treyshawn Gore, I actually saw he was brought in to spar and train with Jared Cannonier. He got the chance to bang with one of the best fighters in the world. So I'm sure, you know, if he had any type of success in those sparring sessions, it gave him huge confidence. And he got to work with the coaches and the other fighters there at the MMA lab. So they've been known to be one of the better gyms in MMA for a while as well. I think both these guys have potential, but they both are green, and I don't know if they're either gonna be able to, sink or swim type of thing. I think both guys could stay in the UFC, but it's a little bit early for both of them. One of them is going to move forward here, though, in this matchup. Treyshawn Gore is a really good athlete, good counter puncher. He has raw power, pretty one-dimensional, though. He can be low volume. He does have sharp hands and really good counters, and he has one-punch knockout power. If opponents are over-aggressive, he can close the distance and land those big counters, make them pay. But he doesn't really kick much. He could struggle with his kick defense. He mainly just kind of tries to cut the cage off and box. And Brian Battle, for instance, in his last fight was able to outwork Gore by just using kicks on the outside. Treyshawn Gore, he does have pretty good takedown defense. He'll sprawl, attack the neck, or try to get on top himself. And in this fight, he has, the same game plan that he should have had in his last fight, to sprawl and brawl. So he's going to be looking at pressure, try to back Brunson against the fence and bang. And if Brunson overextends, try to leave him unconscious from one of those counters. So Gore's going to be ready to snipe, and I think he's going to try to be aggressive in this fight because his last fight he lost kind of more due to activity than being the worst fighter. I don't think his cardio is an issue, but he just kind of wants to stay stationary in the pocket and put power in his punches. So if fighters stick and move, kick him, don't really give him that opportunity to sit down and throw hard. They could just kind of touch him and not get hit back. And Cody Brunson, he's more of a wrestler, but he's athletic. And in this fight, he's going to have to use his footwork, his movement, and eventually time the takedown. In the stand-up, I do think he's the more diverse striker, but he leaves openings to be hit. And I think long-term, he'll lose that battle, end up getting a little bit tired, and kind of let Treyshawn, put his lights out. But Brunson's just going to try to use a lot of leg kicks, feints, try to get Gore to go first. And his hands aren't bad. He's fast. He closes distance quick. His jab is all right, but needs to really focus about not overextending and staying long in this fight, then eventually get into the clinch or shooting it on the legs and get it to the ground, because I think early on he has to clinch up and try to hang on Gore's arms or get the takedown and drop his power and speed. From there, I think he could start to maybe be a little bit more confident, lend his hands and his kicks go and work in the stand-up, but he's going to have to avoid those counters of Gore, and that's going to be an issue for him. He holds his hands low, tends to slow down, get sloppier, closing distance as the fight goes on. And Gore's going to be pressuring him. He's going to be tough to take down. So Brunson is going to have to really have a good gas tank and be good with his pacing. And Brunson is the better grappler. If he can get it to the mat, he will have an advantage. He has good arm triangles. His ground and pound is good. His last loss, he did get out-wrestled by Nick Maximoff, but came back out a guillotine finish, showed off some of his submission game. And, he was knocked out by William Knight when he was going for a double against the cage. So Gore maybe should try to work elbows against the fence if he is getting pressed against the cage there. But Gore's obviously not as powerful or physically imposing as a guy like William Knight. But my pick's going to be Treyshawn Gore by knockout. I think that he can use his pressure and his takedown defense to tire out Brunson and get him to make a mistake and then knock him out. Gore has that big power. Brunson, I think, has a bit of a questionable chin. I think Gore will find the button and get the finish. But if he can't get the finish because of being inactive, I think he could get the decision by landing cleaner strikes. But this is a fight where Brunson, if he gets on top, he could expose Gore and submit him quickly or, get in a dominant position and pound him out. Or, Brunson may be able to use his wrestling and his, cage grinding to get the decision. So both these guys are unproven. Don't really have a, strong opinion on this one, but I'm going to go with Treyshawn Gore. Man, I mean, some of these fights are rough, bro. But we got Antonina Shevchenko taking on Courtney Casey in this next one. Battle between two of the oldest female fighters in the 125-pound division, two of the most inconsistent fighters. But, Antonina Shevchenko, she kind of inherited a name in MMA and was already pushed before even having to perform. Her UFC career has kind of been a failure. She hasn't really been able to reach the heights of her sister or the height she did in kickboxing and Muay Thai, but she's 3-4 in the UFC. She's on a 2-fight losing streak. She hasn't fought in quite a while. It's been 9 months, but her opponent here, Courtney Casey, she's a 14-fight UFC veteran, but she's only 6-8 in those 14 fights. Been on the wrong end of quite a few close decisions, and she's never really just built any momentum in the UFC. She is coming off a win over Liana Jojua. I think on the feet, both these girls are going to bring it. You know, they're both aggressive. They have good kicks and they have decent straight punches. I think that Shevchenko is a little bit better with their footwork, has a little more speed. Courtney is a little plotty. But Casey, I think, is a little more durable and probably a little bit more willing to get in there and get in an ugly fight. The difference I really feel like here is going to be Shevchenko's ability to grapple, which is kind of funny to say because Antonina is known as one of the lesser grapplers in the division. But Courtney Casey, I mean, she's notorious for having really bad takedown defense. Shevchenko, I think, is going to be able to get some clinch control time. I think she's going to be able to land some knees in the clinch, get a couple clinch takedowns, and I think that's going to make it kind of sway in her favor in a close fight. But I could see this being a split decision going either way. The thing is, Casey, usually when she can't get the finish, she loses those decisions, man. I mean, she's 3-7 in decisions. Antonina's 5-2. You know, Antonina's been knocked out and submitted once, but I don't really see Casey submit her outside of an armbar, and I don't really see her knocking her out. So I'm going to go Shevchenko here to get the win by close decision. All right, finally, after a couple of those fights, you got a good fight here. We got Ricky Tercios taking on Ayman Zahabi. And Ricky Tercios, obviously, he's pretty hyped up right now. He just won the Ultimate Fighter. Ayman Zahabi, he is the little brother of Firas Zahabi, so he is pretty famous. He's one of the few Canadian fighters that's coming off a win of the UFC, so he has that going for him as well. One of the main issues with Ayman, you know, is just that he's not very active. I do think he's a good fighter, so hopefully he can start to put some fights together here. He is coming off that knockout victory, but that was over a year ago at this point. But Zahabi, you know, he's a good inside fighter. He's a pressure fighter. On the outside, he's a counter striker. He has a good jab and that sneaky left hook. He will throw that overhand right counter. He got a knockout in his last fight, but I don't really think he has big power. He isn't really the fastest guy, but Draco Rodriguez, I think, you know, he's a boxer. I think he had a little bit of a questionable chin, but Zahabi throws heavy kicks as well. Pretty good footwork, can move around, and, you know, fighters who are faster than him can kind of, you know, touch him and get out the way, though, with jabs, with rear crosses, leg kicks, but Zahabi, you know, he's at his best when he's on the inside. You know, he can counter in the pocket effectively. He has a good clinch game. He's strong with his knees. And if opponents can stay technical, you know, jab and move and finesse him, that's kind of the way to beat Zahabi. You have to respect the counters. Leg kicks are another thing that Zahabi has struggled with a little bit, you know, which I think Tercios is going to try to do, leg kick and move. Tercios is someone who's durable. I don't think he's going to be able to get the knockout Zahabi like he did against Draco Rodriguez. But, you know, Zahabi, his 1 KO loss himself came via that really nasty spinning back elbow against Ricardo Ramos. So he's also a durable guy. And he's a really good grappler, which is where I think is going to be the advantage he has in this fight. You know, he is a black belt. He has good scrambles. And he's strong for the weight. He's good in the clinch. He isn't super active with his wrestling, but he has decent takedowns, good takedown defense. And when he does get taken down, he has good sweeps. He has good submissions. He is very hard to hold down. He'll try to get back to his feet immediately, so he doesn't accept bottom position, which is good to see. And he had a fight with Ricardo Ramos, who's a huge 135-pound fighter, now fights at 145. Good grappler in his own right. And Zahabi was able to get back up to his feet almost immediately after being taken down by Ramos. He did get his back taken briefly at one point, but he was able to work his way out of the position. And on top, Zahabi doesn't have the best top control from what I've seen. I haven't really seen him, you know, be that active from the top position in the UFC or have that much top control. I would guess that Zahabi has had less than 1 minute of top control in his 4 UFC fights, but he is well trained. He paces himself well. He always is going to come in good shape. And he isn't going to be a guy that you're just going to be able to hold down and lay on. Or hold down and lay on. I don't think that's going to happen in this fight. I think he's going to be able to work back up to his feet if Tercios takes him down and make it more of a striking fight. Ricky Tercios, you know, he's a wild man in and out the cage. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's tall, lengthy for bantamweight. He has good speed, movement. He blends his striking, his grappling together fairly well, and he tries to weaponize his pace, his cardio. On the feet, he's a kicker. His hands really are not that great. He has decent speed, and he'll try to kind of use that lead hand, throw double, triple jabs, jab, leap hooks, but he'll throw some 1-2s and things like that as well. His boxing just not really very good. His hands are faster than Zahabi's, but boxing defense is not on the level of Zahabi. He overextends. He leaves himself in vulnerable positions and definitely is there to be countered. He's a hittable guy, but he could take a shot. You don't want to really try to like take him out because he can, come back later in the fight if you don't finish him. And he's a good kicker. He'll throw kicks to all parts of the body. I think in this fight he's going to try to throw a lot of leg kicks and tries to be high volume as well. So I feel like that's going to be what he's going to try to do, be unorthodox, throw kicks, leg kicks, be high volume, maybe try to time some takedowns. But he, outside of getting people tired with his volume and mixing in the takedowns, he's just super tough, durable. He's willing to take shots and force exchanges. I think he's going to want to try to force Zahabi backwards, make it kind of dirty boxing, throw elbows, try to maybe throw some spinning elbows and catch him like Ramos did. But I think that overall, Ayman is the better striker. But Ricky Tercios' grappling is good. We will see him hit a lot of takedowns, and he's able to, kind of use his anti-grappling skills, his get-ups, his submissions off his back, his takedown defense to defeat wrestlers. We've seen that more recently. His last 3 fights have been all against grapplers, and he's been able to get them tired with the submission game off bottom, eventually start taking them down or sweeping them, getting on top and out grappling them, breaking them. And he didn't have as much to worry about with the stand-up, but Tercios, a guy that really is like a scrambler. He doesn't really like to control top position. He likes to kind of jump on submissions, and that can lose him position quite a bit. But he's able to keep that pace and get guys tired, and that's just how he fights. But I think Zahabi could pull the upside in this fight personally. He has the grappling advantage. I think that if he gets on top, he can control better than Tercios' previous opponents. I think that if he gets taken down, he can create a scramble and get back to his feet. And I think he'll land the heavier strikes on the feet. The thing is, I haven't really seen Zahabi in a high-paced fight in a while. He hasn't went past the first round, the first couple minutes in like over 2 years. And he is getting a little bit more up there in age. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't be like super, super confident on Zahabi. But I'm going to pick Zahabi to edge it out here. I think that he'll be able to land the more impactful strikes, be the better striker. And I think that the grappling, even though Tercios will be able to create some scrambles and be effective himself in that area, I think that Zahabi will have success too. And I think that he'll be able to kind of mitigate that, get the better of the striking in a bigger way and win the decision that way. So I see this being a close fight, and I think that Ayman Zahabi will get the decision. And this next fight's another difficult one. I mean, we got Michael Johnson, who's always a guy that's kind of hit or miss. His last fight, he did really good. He snapped his losing streak. He knocked out Alan Patrick, it's hard to give him too much credit for that fight. Patrick was on a losing streak in his own right. Patrick's also an older guy. He was older than Michael Johnson. So now Johnson's getting a real test here. He's facing a younger fighter who's up and coming. Even though Jamie Mullarkey, I don't think he's ever going to reach, top 15 status or things like that. He's a hard-nosed guy. He comes to fight, and he's had some fun fights recently. Last fight, he took a beating and really got, demolished a little bit by Jalen Turner. But we've seen Jalen Turner just taking people out recently. The only thing with that is it was semi-recent when that happened. It was only a little bit over 4 months ago, so hopefully he's fully recovered and can take damage for this fight. Isn't just going to go out there and get hit one time and fall down. But Mullarkey is notorious for being pretty durable, so I think he'll be in there and have a really good mindset. And Michael Johnson, we know what we're going to get out of Michael Johnson. He's going to be moving around. He's going to be real fast, trying to control distance and snipe from the outside with the 1-2s. He has some of the best hand speed in the division, and he can pull counter really well. He is pretty fearless in there. I mean, that's something that you do have to hand to him. He's willing to stick in the pocket and kind of get hit to give shots back, and he's willing to take one to, get back 3-4. And he's able to do that with his hand speed. So in this fight, it's pretty obvious what he's going to want to do. Jamie Mullarkey's a pressure fighter. He isn't really necessarily the fastest. And Michael Johnson's going to have that advantage. He's going to have to stick, move, touch him, try to walk him into some big power shots, and eventually knock him out. And, if he could do that, that's going to be the path to victory for Michael Johnson. Either peppering him to a decision or eventually landing that kill shot with a, straight left. But, Jamie Mullarkey, he's a guy that, like I said earlier, he's proven to be really durable throughout his career. Pressures forward, has some power in his hands, real nice left hook. When he hurts you, he's going to go for the kill. And he's already beaten a couple fighters that are fairly similar to Michael Johnson with, Kama Worthy, with Devontae Smith. And he's able to just come forward and break guys, get him against a cage, start banging the body, banging the head. He can mix in some takedowns. He isn't necessarily the greatest wrestler. But, I just feel like Mullarkey, even though he just took that beatdown against Turner, I think he's just fresher than Michael Johnson. I think he's going to go in there. I think Johnson's going to be having some early success like he always does in his fights. But I think Jamie Mullarkey's eventually going to get past that. I think he's going to land like a big left hook, maybe rock Michael Johnson. He's going to get on top, get his back, and get that choke. So, Michael Johnson, he's notorious for having a pretty good chin. But he got rocked against Clay Guida. He got rocked against Patrick. And Mullarkey's shown some heat in that left hand. He's shown some really good power in that lead hook. So I think that he's going to be able to land that eventually and kind of hurt Michael Johnson and make that the beginning of the end, eventually get that submission. So give me Jamie Mullarkey here to win this fight inside the distance. And we got another women's fight here up next with Cynthia Calvillo and Nina Nunes. Nina Nunes, she has that 100% Muay Thai style. She's improved a bit with her ability to fight off the back foot behind the jab. But in this fight, I think she's definitely going to be trying to force Calvillo backwards and pressure. She has a high guard. She throws straight punches, good leg kicks, good front kicks. She has good power. She's tough, and willing to stick and brawl in the pocket like the majority of Muay Thai fighters. But she's plotty. She's getting up there in age. She's coming back from pregnancy, which isn't going to help that either. And just her speed and footwork is not the best. But she's strong in the clinch. She has real nice knees, elbows. Takedown defense has improved, but I still think it's suspect for sure. She's okay off of her back. Her get-up game is all right, but she can be held down. Her submission defense is questionable as well. I think her cardio is also something you have to question. I mean, it used to be something that she was pretty good at, but we haven't seen her really go past the first round in a long time. We haven't seen her get a win in a long time. Cynthia Calvillo, she also hasn't been having a lot of success lately. She's lost 3 fights in a row. But in this fight, I expect her to stick and move with the jab, maybe some flim kicks, some punches, try to get Nunes to sit down on a shot, and then time the level changes, get the takedown, get it to the ground, and that's where she's in her world. She's aggressive, good ground and pound, good submissions. In most fights, she has great cardio. She could take punishment. Her last fight, she did break, but I don't think Andrea Lee and Nina Nunes are really comparable. I think Andrea Lee's a next-level athlete, hits harder, moves better, younger, fresher. So I think this is an easier fight for her. And Calvillo did do good against Marina Rodriguez, who I feel is a superior version of Nina Nunes. I think that she'll even have more success on the mat than she did against Rodriguez if she can get Nunes down. And if the fight stays stand-up, I think that it will be competitive. So this is also Nunes' I believe, first fight at 125. So I don't know if how that's gonna affect her positively or negatively. But I don't like her moving up in weight, especially being 36, almost 37. I feel like that could be her not being in optimum shape. I don't know. But, if Calvillo didn't burn me in her last fight so bad, maybe I would even bet on her. I think this is a good matchup for her. I think she's going to have the speed on the feet with her feet and the hands. And if it stays striking long-term over 3 rounds, and I do think Nunes will eventually probably find a rhythm and start beating Cynthia up a little bit. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Cynthia's going to be able to find the takedowns as well. And I don't know if she's going to get the finish or it's going to be a decision, but I think Cynthia's going to win this fight mainly with her movement and grappling. So this next one, we got Jared Vanderaa taking on Chase Sherman in the heavyweight division. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this fight. I mean, I don't know. Both these guys are very low level. Obviously, Vanderaa, he's lost 3 fights in a row. Chase Sherman, 4 fights in a row. So someone's getting cut if they lose this fight. I mean, Chase Sherman, I think he got a nice new contract for stepping up and fighting Alexander Romanov. He wasn't even in the UFC. Before that, he had gotten cut already. Vanderaa, they've been putting him in there against decent competition, and he's just been coming up short. So I don't really know if they value him too much either, but I feel like it's going to be a stand-up fight. Both these guys don't really like to fight wrestlers, so it's going to be right up their alley, and probably be a brawl, probably be a war. It'd probably be decently fun to watch. I'm just going to go with Vanderaa, though, because I think he's younger. He's a little bit less shot-borne. I think he's a little bit more durable. He has better cardio. He throws more volume. I think he's tougher. He's the bigger guy. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Vanderaa. But I mean, if Chase Sherman jabs his face off for 2 rounds, survives the third, I don't know, he could win too. He to me is not really looking that dedicated anymore. I don't know. I mean, he gassed out after the first 3 minutes of the fight. I think Vanderaa is a little bit more serious about his MMA career. So I'm gonna go with Jared Vanderaa. And we got another awesome fight here at the 135-pound weight class. 2 other guys that I don't believe are ranked either, but they very clearly, at least Said Nurmagomedov, I believe, could compete with the ranked guys. But this is going to be a good one. I mean, Said Nurmagomedov, he was coming off that really quick victory over Cody Stamen, where he knocks him out in the first round, became the first person to finish Stamen. Or I think he dropped him and then choked him. I'm not 100%. Let me see real quick. Yeah. He dropped him and then he got him with the guillotine. And then Douglas Silva de Andrade, he's coming off 2 wins in a row. He's coming off that really awesome win against Sergey Morozov, where he lost the first round, was getting beat down, and then was able to get the comeback and won 50K. So at 37 years old, he's still, viable in the weight class. And the winner of this fight is going to get a big jump. I think they'll probably get a top 10 opponent next. So a pivotal fight for both guys. And should be a really fun one. I mean, usually when you see that last name, Nurmagomedov, you're expecting a guy to go in there and, get takedowns for 3 rounds. But Said's not really going to do that. Said's a guy that he could get takedowns, and I do think he'll probably mix some in here because Douglas just brings that pressure bulldog style, and it's easy to, level change and kind of alleviate some of that pressure. But Nurmagomedov is a really finesse guy. He likes to move around, throw real nice kicks. He's super fast. Kind of has that wushu style, and I feel like on the feet he is one of the better guys in the weight. He's already proven it. He's super dangerous. His kicks are nasty. He has really good ability to control distance, just move in and out. He's long and rangy for the weight, and just very hard to hit. We've seen him lose 2 times, and both those losses came against grapplers. His grappling is really good. His takedown defense is really good, but when he gets taken down, he does tend to give his back to stand up, and a couple guys have been able to take advantage of that, grind him out over 3 rounds and get the win that way. But Douglas Silva de Andrade, he's not going to be able to come in with that game plan. He's not really too much of an offensive grappler at all. He has good defensive wrestling, and he comes forward, he throws, and he's a little tank, man. He has big power. He's able to absorb shots and, bring that forward pressure, overhands, leg kicks, and break guys down and eventually take them out. So he's a very dangerous guy. He's able to, go in there and knock a lot of people out throughout his career. But with Nurmagomedov, I just don't think he's going to be able to do that. I think he's going to be danced around and kicked, and I think he probably is going to be taken down a couple times and just, I don't know if he'll get finished. I think he could get tired and then taken out for sure. Or I think he could even last the decision because I think that, he's real tough. I think he has never been actually taken out. I know he got submitted, I believe, and then against Petr there was a corner stoppage, but I've never seen him flatline knocked out or anything. And he went all 3 rounds with LaRon Murphy, who's a big power hitter. So Andrade is tough to get out of there, and Nurmagomedov has to remember that. But I think attacking the body to open the head eventually will get Nurmagomedov to finish in the later rounds, and I'll say he gets a KO TKO in the 2nd or 3rd here. In this next fight, we got a really interesting fight. We got the co-main event. We got Kyle Borralho versus Armin Petrosyan. Both these guys, They're only 1-0 in the UFC, but obviously the UFC sees something in these guys to give them this main event slot, and should be a really action fight because you got two styles here. I mean, Borralho, he's more well-rounded. He's someone that he likes to move around on the feet, got good in and out movement. He's very athletic. He could switch stances. He throws that rear cross real nice. Nice high kicks, good flying knees. And he likes to stay out of trouble, not brawl much. Don't throw much in combination. Just kind of be in and out. Time those crosses. Time that flying knee if he sees it. And he's really good on the ground. He trains with Damian Maia. We saw in his last fight, he was able to defend all the takedowns of Gadzi Rabanov, who was a Dagestani wrestler. And when he did get put on his back, I believe the one time he did get actually taken down, he was able to sweep pretty quickly. And what he showed in his last fight was excellent control, great ability to take the back and control that position. And he's gotten a lot of finishes on the ground, submissions. He's gotten KO finishes as well, so he's well-rounded. And Petrosyan, he's kind of more of a straight kickboxer, and he had a really big win in his UFC debut. He went in there against Gregory Rodriguez, who's borderline top 15 guy, and he got the win. It was a little bit of a controversial decision, but he was on the right side of it. And Petrosyan, he's one of these guys that he's real tall. He's and he likes to play that counter game. He likes to kick, throw a lot of leg kicks, and then throw a lot of jabs, get guys to come forward and then snipe them with that rear cross. He has power, and he will also try to kind of steal rounds at the end of them by coming forward with a blitz and brawling and trying to kind of look good to the judges. But the other thing is he's powerful. So if he lands clean on you, he could take you out. He could change the fight at any point. He has pretty good cardio. And so far in his career, he's shown the ability to get taken down, controlled, and then eventually get back up to his feet and find that finish. So he doesn't, lose focus or lose hope in the fight. He's able to, get comeback wins. But this is a completely different opponent. We saw Gregory Rodriguez get a couple of takedowns in his last fight, lose that back position. And he also fought kind of a fight that was not smart. He brawled a little bit more, kept it stand-up, whereas I think Borralho is going to have a lot smarter game plan. And I think if he does get that back, he's going to be able to control and not let Petrosyan get back up to his feet. So it's going to be a tougher fight, I believe, for Armin Petrosyan, and I think that Kyle Borralho is going to be able to get the job done via submission. I don't know if that'll be early or that'll be once Petrosyan slows down a little bit, but I think Borralho eventually will be able to hit that rear naked choke in this fight. So Kyle Borralho, I just think he has more skills, more weapons. I think he'll fight smart. He won't brawl with Petrosyan. He won't overextend, leave a lot of openings. And even though he's super hard to trust as well, because I don't think he's faced someone that can counter and strike like Petrosyan has, and he is a little bit hittable. He has his hands down at times. So Petrosyan, if he clips him, he could take him out. But I think Borralho has more weapons, more tools, and on the ground he'll be able to dominate. So give me Borralho by submission either in the first or second round, I'll say. And finally, we got the main event here. We got Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev. And RDA, he's been one of my favorite fighters for a while now in the UFC. He's, in my opinion, one of the best lightweight fighters in UFC history and MMA history as well. He's gotten, I believe, 2 or 3 UFC title defenses, and he's beaten some of the best lightweights ever, So Rafael Fiziev, he's getting a big test here. He's getting a big step up in competition from the Brad Riddells, the Bobby Greens. He's taking on a former champ now. And that's exactly what he's been wanting to do. He's been over there at Tiger Muay Thai. He had a really, really good Muay Thai career. And he's wanted to get fast-tracked in the UFC, and it's just happening now. He had a hiccup where he lost his UFC debut to Magomed Mustafayev. He got spinning wheel kicked early and kind of had to build his way back since then. But he's gone undefeated. He's won 5 fights in a row. And now he's getting this main event opportunity. This is going to be his first 5-round fight in MMA. And this is a tough fight to call. Because there's a lot of things about Fiziev that we don't really know. Fiziev, we did see him in his fight with Bobby Green. He got out there and he was super hyped up. He was talking to Bobby, and he was doing a lot of things that were wasting his energy. And you saw in the 3rd round, he was pretty tired. Bobby Green was able to come back, beat him up in that round, and really have a decisive 3rd round. This round, he has to be smarter in terms of how he maintains his gas tank. He can't go out there and try to burn it out in the 1st round and get that quick knockout, because if it doesn't happen, RDA is going to be right there. We know RDA's style. He's a grinder. He's been in more 5-round fights than Rafael Fiziev has total fights in his career. So He knows how to pace himself over that 5 rounds, and he's going to be there the whole time, in your face. And then also, we haven't really seen Fiziev in there with any wrestlers. One thing we do know is he has pretty good takedown defense. I mean, we've seen him out there at Tiger Muay Thai training with Movsar Evloev and defending a lot of his takedowns, showing some flashy takedown defense. But, we haven't really seen it tested in a fight against a guy like RDA at that level. We haven't seen it even close to tested at that level. So that's what RDA is going to try to do. I mean, this fight's pretty simple for both guys, in my opinion, how they're going to approach it. RDA, he's going to have to be the pressure fighter. He's going to have to back up Fiziev. He can't let him control the center. And RDA is a high-level wrestler when he can get it against the cage. That's where he gets his takedowns. In the center, it's going to be Fiziev all day. I mean, Fiziev is significantly faster. That's the one thing with RDA that you can't pinpoint. I mean, he's 37, and he hasn't really lost a lot. I still think he's very durable. I still think he has the gas tank. I still think he has that will and, want to get that title back and fight at the top of the division. And he's willing to go out there and take shots to make that happen and eventually wrestle and make it super hard fights to get back up to the top. But the speed and the reaction time has started to go down a little bit, especially when I watched the fight with Moicano. I mean, he was getting hit with some unnecessary shots, man, especially later on in the fight. And it looked like his reactions just weren't as sharp as they might have been, a few years ago. So that's something I don't really like to see. Another thing about that fight with Moicano is he got a little bit of a break there. They got to weigh in at 160 pounds. So he's going to have to move back down to 55s. And that fight wasn't so long. It was like 4 months. So that's another thing that I don't really like either. The fact that RDA is kind of 55 twice in like 4 months. Even though he got to cut to 160 last time, he's not getting that 5-pound grievance this time. He's going to have to weigh in 156. And I think that could also slow him down a little bit as well in the later rounds. Fiziev's a guy that, he also has had and shown cardio issues, but his last fight, he was much more, I believe, like, he wasn't as wild. He maintained his gas tank a lot better, and I think he's going to come in with a similar mindset in this one. I don't think he's going to burn it out in the first round like Bobby Green made him do. And, on the feet, I do think that Fiziev has a big advantage with the speed. Like I said, I think he's going to be able to land the crosses and big shots, and RDA is going to be pressuring forward, so he's going to be there to hit. But RDA, he has good boxer on the inside too, and on the inside he's going to have the advantage, I believe. Besides the fact that he could get sniped, he could also land some big hooks or maybe a body kick or two and kind of start to slow down Fiziev. And but the game plan for RDA is going to be get it against the cage and get the takedown. If he gets on top, he's probably going to have a big advantage. RDA isn't necessarily the best with his top control, especially early in fights, but he's able to wear on guys, wear them down, and once they start to gas out, get tired, that's where you can start to control them on top, land big ground and pound, and eventually submit you or, cut you open and beat you that way. But Fiziev, he's a guy that's very explosive, and I do think early on it'd be very hard to take down. And he's a good mover. I mean, he moves side to side really well. He's a guy that's not going to be easy to back up. And, man, I mean, honestly, I wish they would have fought a few months ago because RDA looked real sharp in that Moicano fight. And I just don't know, I feel like, RDA, like I said, he's one of my fighters that I like in the UFC, and I usually would pick him, especially at this underdog price, and bet on him, but I'm going to go the other way with Fiziev here because I just feel like I didn't like the, some of the reaction time that RDA had in his last fight, and you could see Moicano was a little bit, he's a little bit rusty, he didn't have the training camp, or I believe he just fought. But either way, he was overextending a lot on his punches. And RDA's timing was sick in that fight. It was on point, man. I mean, he was able to time those level changes whenever Moicano overextended and take him down right away. But I don't think he's going to get a lot of mistakes on the feet in terms of getting out of position against Fiziev. And I think the speed is going to be a big difference. I think RDA is going to struggle to get the takedowns here and to back up Fiziev. And I think if he does get him down early, I think Fiziev will be able to scramble back up to his feet. It's just going to be whether, if RDA could survive some punishment early, maybe get hit with some big shots and not get out of there and start to eventually change the tide, then we could see the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round RDA take over. Eventually get the submission, break Fiziev. But I'm going to go with Fiziev by knockout in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think he's just going to be able to catch RDA with a big shot and then maybe put a flurry of combination on and get him out of there. RDA is super durable. Only been finished twice in his career. Eddie Alvarez got him. Jeremy Stevens got him, and that's it. So, it's going to be tough for Fiziev to get the knockout, but I just think, eventually you get to that time where it's the passing of the guard, and I'm going to go with Fiziev, man. I'm going to go with Fiziev by knockout. Hopefully, I want my boy RDA to get the win, though. Hopefully RDA goes out there and does work, but I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev. I'll say by 2nd round KO TKO. So that's the full card breakdown here for this fight card. As far as my most confident pick goes, I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov in that. And for the parlay of the week, I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev and Said Nurmagomedov. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit the like button. And yeah, I'll be back next week breaking down these fights once again. So make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. And, hit that bell so you know when I'm going to be dropping this video. And everyone that watched it, I really appreciate you guys. So talk to you guys later.